Welcome to the Front Seat Life podcast. This is Jessica Butts, your host and CEO and creator of Front Seat Life, where I help you be unapologetically who you are in your life, love, and business. Hello, everybody, and welcome back, Front Seat Lifers. It is episode number 7, and 7 is my favorite number because I was born on 7/7. So I have a lot of wonderful, hopefully life-changing tidbits of helpful content for you today. The last 6 episodes, we have been talking about personality type, and we have been doing, I hope, a really great job of helping you figure out yourself. Figuring out the very first question of my 3 favorite questions, which are, who are you? Where are you going? And how are you going to get there? And I am basically going to spend the next many years kind of chunking those 3 questions down into quarters, if you will. So Q1 of each year, I'm really going to tackle this topic of who are you? And that is all about self. It's about differentiation. It's about who you are in this world. It's about your innate personality type. It's about your family of origin, your culture of origin, kind of all the things that make up who you are. And then the other side of it, Q2, quarter 2, which I'm going into a tiny bit early this year, is transitioning from self to others. And that whole piece of it is really about love and talking about not only who we are in this world, because it's only half of the equation. The other half of the equation are all the relationships in our life, our significant others, our lovers, our spouses, our brothers, our sisters, our moms and dads, our friends, basically everybody that we happen to be in relationship with. Those are all the others. And back in graduate school, I learned this model, and I wish I kind of knew what the model was called, but don't do stuff you suck at, and that's a detail that I don't remember. But it's a very visual graphic, and I want all of you to imagine an infinity symbol. On one side, let's say the left side of the infinity symbol, is what's called differentiation or self. This is all the stuff that makes up who we are as human beings in this world. And then on the other side of the infinity symbol is what's called attunement or others, how we are in relationship to other people. And this is the magic wand or the magic understanding, if you will, of life, because we are not siloed individuals. We do not live this life alone. I know there's a lot of introverts who probably are like, oh God, wouldn't that be nice? I could just go kind of live up in the mountains by myself. But the reality is we have relationships, we have bosses, and we have significant others. And I'm really going to kind of focus the next couple of months off of significant others in particular, but I'm just honored and delighted to bring this content to you. This is a lot of content that I have learned as being a couples therapist. So I was a psychotherapist and did couples counseling, really actually high conflict counseling. And it was something I loved doing. I've had a book in me, and my 3rd book for a couple of years. I plan on calling it Love Me for Who I Am. And it's all of the content that I learned as a couples therapist in graduate school, through my own divorce, and through a few really meaningful relationships in the last 5.5 years since I got divorced. And I know how impactful this content is in my life, and I truly hope that it will help you show up in your relationships differently. So again, the schedule of events really, or the content really, is going to be Q1 and Q2. We're going to be talking about self and others, about who are you. This summer, spring and summer, I'm going to really dive into where are you going, which is all this mindset stuff. And man, there's so much around that with resistance, and there's just these amazing reading books and what the ego does in your body and how we keep ourselves small and why we don't show up and blah, all of this stuff in our lives that just really, it just messes with us. And so I'm so interested and excited to bring that to you then. And then Q4, kind of towards the end of the year, I'm going to get into some of my signature work, which is about where are you going? Like, how are you going to get there? Which is really about taking decisive action, like not just sitting up around and dreaming up things, but actually putting actionable steps into place. So this is all my business content. So again, I was a psychotherapist for a number of years, turned business owner, and have built a very, very successful business. I mean, that always sounds a little like propping up in a way, but it's just part of my journey. And I want to help people through this podcast, through my coaching, through my keynotes, through strategy days, all of those kinds of things, help people do the same in their life, love, and business. So this is about, again, being unapologetically who we are in our life, love, and business, putting our own oxygen mask on first before we dive into relationships with others. And so after all of that being said, that's what today's topic is about. And this is probably going to be one of my favorite episodes, I'm guessing, for a very long time, because I'm planning on giving you a lot of content about what has helped me be single, what has helped me leave my marriage, which is what I've also helped build my business, these kinds of things in my life that I've really implemented wholeheartedly to be able to complete the self. And please know, I'm still an absolute work in progress. I screw things up. I have screwed up conversations. I have screwed up relationships. I make mistakes. I trip up. I do all the stuff that everybody else does. But these are the tools that I continue to practice to better myself. It's never completed. It's never fixed. It's never whatever. And if anybody ever tries to tell you that, they're totally full of shit. So no one has it all figured out. But these are the tools that I know have worked with my clients, have worked in my own life, and I'm just excited to share them with you. So you guys ready to jump in? Okay, me too. I'm excited. Okay, so let's, another visual for you. I want you to think about a tennis court. And next week's topic is actually about this. I'm going to talk about codependency. If you guys don't know about codependency, oh, wow, it's a game changer. And it's just one of those holy shit moments of, I'll share it next week. But when I learned about it, personality type and codependency are the two most eye-opening things that have ever happened in my life. When I learned about personality type and I could see, oh my God, this is who I am, putting my own oxygen mask on first and how I show up in the world, it was an absolute eye-opener, game changer, has influenced every part of my life since then. Codependency is the second. In terms of understanding my dysfunction in relationships, and everybody has a form of dysfunction, but the visual of this, and again, stay tuned for episode 8 next week. Today's topic is the final side of staying on your side of the net. So for the past 6 episodes, I've been talking about personality type as it relates to you, how you show up in the world, being unapologetically who you are. But again, that's only one side. We ourselves are only one side. The other side of the net is how we then attune to others. So completing this side of the net, imagine yourself standing on a side of a net, on a tennis court. And today's episode is about filling up this side of the net with all things you. All things Rebecca, all things Samantha, all things Lauren, whoever you are out there listening, it's all those things that make you up. The problem is, in my experience, most people have no idea what that is. They don't know who they are, and especially women, because universally, women are caretakers. We lose ourselves in relationships. We lose ourselves in our marriages. We lose ourselves even in our friendships. We lose ourselves in our business. We definitely lose ourselves in our children. And oftentimes the women that have come to me as in life skills, business skills, or love skills, this is one of the biggest issues, is I ask them things like, well, what do you think? What do you want? What do you need? What are your expectations in the relationship? And they have no idea. And that's when this comes back to being about personal responsibility. Nobody is around to complete us. Let me repeat that. Nobody is around to complete us, to make us happy, to make us feel anything other than what we're unwilling to make ourselves feel. Yes, someone can make us feel happy or sad, but that is not their job. It is our job to complete ourselves and to go into a relationship as a whole person. It's not 50-50. There's some famous therapist out there, and I don't remember who it is, possibly John Gottman, that says two people do not come into a relationship as halves. Like, my better half, they say. 50-50. It's whole people. One person comes in whole, the other person comes in whole, so that you then can be together in a relationship without feeling like you have to complete somebody or fulfill something for them. Again, yes, people can obviously bring us happiness. So I'm sure there's people listening right now who are like, but this person makes me feel that way. That's fantastic, but it's not their job. It is our job. Part of the work right now, or anybody who's really taking this seriously and actually taking notes and diving into this, is asking this question on this side of the net is, who are you? What are your opinions? What do you want and need out of a relationship? What do you want and need in your life? What is your personality type? There's a method to my madness. I'm going in sequence. So understanding your personality type, knowing that it's innate, not apologizing for it, but being unapologetically who you are. What are these innate parts of you? And being able to own that and saying, I actually really suck at this stuff. I'm actually going to do more of this, or I'm going to build my business around this, or I'm going to come into a relationship with this much more clarity. The next exercise in spring and summer, I will actually do an episode on each of these, but today is a bit more of an overview, is core values. There's a wonderful exercise that I do with people, but what are your core values? What do you actually believe in? Not what your kids want you to do, not what your spouse wants you to do, not what your mom and dad told you you should do, but none of the shoulds. But who are you as a human being? What are your core values? What gets you out of bed in the morning? So stay tuned for an exercise. I will label it core values, but there's an actual cutout exercise that I have my clients do that is, wow, it's so incredibly eye-opening and shocking to people to realize, one, what's not important to them, things that they thought were important to them, but in reality, they're actually not all that important. And then figuring out what are these things, what drives you, what gets you out of bed in the morning, because it's not about things like money. Money is just a representation of a core value. Is that core value safety? Is it freedom? What is it for you? The next thing on this side of the net are your goals. What do you actually want to do in your life? One of the episodes is going to be quit living 5 minutes in front of your face. I think David and I talked about that on multiple of our episodes, about understanding that you have goals and you can't live 5 minutes in front of your face. In order to be successful in any part of your business, your health, your fitness, your mindset, your spirituality, your business, your relationships, what are the goals that you have for yourself? And those goals need to start with you. Yes, you can add these to your partner. Yes, you can have this conversation with your spouse, but it's not about what they may want. What do you want? Come on. What is the most annoying thing ever when you ask somebody? I mean, if you are like me, you already know what the answer is if you ask them something, they're like, I don't know. Really? Do you not know? I mean, do you not have an opinion about your own life or what you want or how much money you want to make or where you want to go on vacation or even the simplest things, going out to dinner or what movie you want to see or what you want to dress, how you want to make your body, what kind of friends you want to have? It is amazing to me how many people have lost themselves in others. They've lost their own identity by being a wife, being a mother, being a business owner, being whatever it is. And they've forgotten to get back to themselves about who are you? There's two more things that I want to talk about in this list before I give you some actual tools. And the next thing is just interests. Like, what are you interested in? And it needs to be something different than your children. I'm sorry, moms, you might be mad at me right now, but what do you care about? What are the books that you're reading? What are the conversations that you're having with your friends? Are you into yoga? Are you into Zumba? Are you into basket weaving? Are you building a business? Are you into building your muscles? Like whatever it is, but for the love of God, have something for yourself. Again, who are you? Yes, a mother is a role. It's a very, very, very important role and a huge part of who you are, but it is not everything. Wife, role, business owner. I mean, I identify very, very, very strongly with the fact that I'm an entrepreneur. It's definitely one of my biggest personal identifiers, but it is not my whole being. It's part of my being. And the next exercise I want to leave you with, I'm actually really in love with this one right now. It's helped my life tremendously through the tumultuous ebb and flow of dating in Seattle as a 45-year-old woman. It is not the easiest thing in the world. I was married to Brian for 20 years. I was with him for 20 years, married to him for 13, and I've been single for 5.5 years. I would say technically single, kind of in and out of relationships. And it's hard. It's hard. Every relationship is hard. Marriage is hard. People, marriage is hard. Being a mom is hard. Being a sister is hard. Being a daughter is hard. Relationships are hard. People have their own agendas. We're egocentric. We've got feelings. We've got pride. Like things happen. So when I get triggered, all of us get triggered. I get triggered. I'm having a situation with the guy I'm dating right now, and we're both triggered. Like he triggered something in me, and now my response is triggering something in him, and we get reactive, right? Go back to episode two, baby in the backseat content about understanding, like, this is our trigger. This is our reptilian brain. This is our baby in the backseat coming out. She's not good. It's not good. It's like a baby reacting, being a nightmare. This baby in the back seat, part of us flares up. And again, she acts like a baby. It's not like a grown ass adult like we all are. It's a baby acting out and being problematic. And so when we get triggered, I get triggered. I've been triggered this week. I get triggered and my lash out is to run away. We'll talk about this kind of over the next couple of months is my attachment is totally avoidant. And so I just am like, peace out. I don't need you. Screw this. I'm out of here. It's just totally, it's gross, right? And I will teach you about this in the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months when we talk about attachment. It's freaking fascinating. It's going to blow your fucking mind. I promise. It's unbelievable. But understanding that that is my reactionary style. That is my reaction to something that has hurt my feelings, which is what happened, or when I get overwhelmed. But in this case, when somebody in my life hurts my feelings, that is my reaction. So the tool that is very, very simple, this is not rocket science, but the tool that I have been using to combat that is in my journal. I keep a piece of paper that says the best version of myself. And I list all the adjectives of the best version of who I am. I'm going to be really transparent with you, and I'm actually going to read it. I'm pulling it out right now. I'm going to read this. Super, super transparent. My best version of myself is, there's a lot of adjectives. You guys ready? Calm, centered, confident, loving, kind, generous. Actually makes me cry a little bit. Caring, magnetic, sexy, fabulous, energetic, open, authentic, transparent, charming, funny, silly, fun, inviting, interesting, creative, inspiring. It's my best body, self-loving, enrapturing, quirky, and last but not least, fucking amazing. I read that to you, one, because I want you to know that I'm on this journey with you, and I'm no different than any of you. I get triggered. I'm in relationships. I have challenging conversations. I lean into them the best that I know how. And when I get triggered, currently, that is my favorite go-to tool on this side of my net, along with having opinions, knowing what my personality type is, knowing what my best self is, understanding my front seat. My front seat is building relationships, being open and honest with people. Again, open, honest relationships, and then creativity. That is my front seat. And so when I understand that that's part of my best self, that's my side of the net. What is yours? Understanding and reminding myself about my core values. When we get to the business conversation and kind of Q4, we'll talk about theme words. And for those of you who don't have businesses, you might think of, how do you want to feel this year? A theme word is just surrounding yourself by a theme for the year. Of course, setting goals for my personal life, my business life, my interests, and then again, this best self exercise. I can't tell you how many times these exercises have saved my life, have saved a relationship, have allowed me to stay in a relationship and be authentic, and in full transparency, to leave a relationship when I wasn't getting what I need and what I want. And that is actually when this stuff gets really challenging, is being able to know that this is what I deserve. This is who I am. These are my goals. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person, but if we're not on the same page, I need to be willing to walk away. And so do you. And that is why this is the power of doing this work of building this side of the net and understanding who are you, so that we don't let others dictate that for us. Again, this is about compromise. I will note that the reason it's an infinity symbol is because you're constantly floating on that infinity symbol, ebbing and flowing, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, where it's not a line, one or the other, one or the other. You're floating. And statistically speaking, you end up in the middle the majority of the time, because relationships are about self and other. So let's jump into my tools. Let's end this with some tools. So I've given you lots of hopefully helpful content thus far, but these are actually ways that you can do the things that I just said. Some of you are going to not love some of these things that I'm about to say. You're already going to be pushing back, but I promise you, these are the things that I have done. My therapy clients, my coaching clients, all the people in my groups, the Front Seat Life community, everybody that I've ever worked with, I've asked them to do this because I have done this myself and they have worked. So let's start. I've got a list of 6. Number 1, your morning practice. Already, I'm getting some eye rolling. I talked about this in episode 0. I will do an entire episode about this in June or July, but it's all about the morning practice. And the morning practice is about 2 things, which are number 2 and number 3, which are spending time alone. And that makes a lot of people very uncomfortable because they don't know who they are. Therefore, they fill their lives with busyness. They fill their lives with people, and they fill their lives with stuff, and they fill their lives with activities and TV and talking on the phone and Facebook and Instagram and all the stuff. And they never take a hot minute to get quiet. And a morning practice is about no TV, nobody else, just you and your thoughts. And yep, sometimes they're not great. I have days where they're not great. It's not pleasant. They're not fun. But this is how you figure out who you are. You take a hot ass minute for yourself. You got to slow down, people. You actually need to spend some time by yourself. If you don't, you're never going to figure some of this out. In fact, a lot of you right now, this has nothing to do with you because you probably already do these things. But if this is triggering you, it's probably because you don't do these things. And you know the reason you don't do it is because you're uncomfortable with your own thoughts and who you are. So I encourage you to start doing a morning practice. So that was number 1 and number 2, a morning practice and spending some time alone. Number 3, and this is also about a morning practice, is the purpose of spending time alone, doing a morning practice is for number 3, which is to get you grounded. So in the world that we live in today, we are reactive. We get up, there's emails, there's other people, you've got assistants, you've got kids, you've got husbands. I need this, I need that. This is wrong. What's going on with this? Where's the lunches? Blah, 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 blah. It's constantly reactive. Part of figuring out who you are is becoming proactive, slowing down, getting grounded, getting calm, figuring these things out, reading, taking time to be alone, be with your thoughts, go for walks, whatever that means for you, so that you can get grounded and start being proactive in your life, putting your feet on the ground and going. And never, ever taking a moment to figure out who you are, what you believe in, what you think, how was yesterday, what's my best predictor of future performance is my past performance. What happened yesterday that made me a better person? What could I have improved on? I have a fabulous, amazing journal. I mean, again, I'm not a self-promoter. I'm not very good at it, but it's awesome. It's amazing. I love it. It's on Amazon. It's just look up jessicabutts.com. It is Be Unapologetically Who You Are, and it's an amazing getter starter or intermediate journal. Another amazing introductory journal is the 5-minute journal. For somebody who has never journaled before, I would highly recommend getting both, actually. Getting the 5-minute journal and then getting one like mine, which is more of a free write journal with some prompts. But the 5-minute journal is an amazing prompt to help you figure out, like, how am I feeling? What am I grateful for? How was yesterday? How could I have improved? Because if we never, ever take time to look at that stuff, you know what you're going to do? You're going to stay exactly the same. That's just a fact. You're going to stay the same if you never do anything to improve yourself. Number 4. This is also going to be super triggering for people, but number 4 are solo trips. Whether that be a day, a weekend, or like myself, I take week-long trips by myself at least once a year, and oftentimes multiple times a year, to get away, to be, to think, to be alone. And you know what's fascinating? I actually just got back from Cabo. I went because I needed to get away. I needed to adjust some things in my business. I could feel things were growing and evolving and changing, and I needed some time to get away. And while I was there, people could not leave me alone. They were uncomfortable with me being alone. Groups of people would be like, come over, drink with us, hang out, as if being there by myself wasn't a choice. I'm here by myself because I want to be by myself. I want to geek out and listen to podcasts and read and journal and process and listen to music and go for walks by myself. But it's unbelievable to me how few people do that, and then how much it actually makes people uncomfortable. Like going out to dinner by yourself. It's amazing to me how many people are unwilling to do that because they're just uncomfortable. Like, I don't know, this is kind of mean, but like, grow up. Like, it's not only a part of life, it's an awesome part of life. So again, whether that be a day trip, a weekend trip, whether you get on a plane or you just go somewhere local, what would it be like for you to take a solo trip? Number 5, I've already mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again, journaling. I think it's probably the number one tool to help you figure out who you are. So in journaling, I call it a couple things. One is I call it externally processing the crazy, right? How many people have internal dialogues that are just crazy? My head is always spinning. I'm having dialogue in my head. What's wrong with me? What's happening here? What that person said this, blah, 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 blah. So many stories in my head. Journaling gets it out of your head. Benefit number 1. Benefit number 2 is that I reread my journals. Yep, it's painful. Sometimes I've actually started doing it quarterly. So I used to do it every year, and I will probably continue to do that every year. I go away. I go to this place called Salish Lodge here in the Seattle area, and I just get away for 24 hours, and I get room service, and I go to the spa, and I read and read and read and read and read and read all of last year's. I've now started reading it quarterly because I realize how much benefit comes from where was I stuck? What was I struggling with? What things am I still screwing up? Why am I being a crazy person? Like, what is up with me? And some of it's awesome. Like, wow, Jess, look how far you've come. And some of it is like, wow, girl, you are still stuck in the same patterns. But I can't move forward and grow and evolve as a woman, as a business owner, if I don't look at my past. Where have I been so that I know where I'm going? And I think last, but certainly not least, is getting a therapist or a life coach or a business coach. We cannot see everything. Yes, our friends can be helpful. Yes, our sisters can be helpful. My sister is totally my go-to on like keeping it real with me. I check things out with her. Like, am I crazy? What's going on? Did I misinterpret this? Like, she totally keeps me in check. And it's very, very helpful to also have a therapist or a life coach, because we can't always have perspective in our own lives. We need an outside party. We need somebody, a third party, to really, to basically call us on our shit and or help us lovingly see something that we're missing. So that's it. I guess I'll wrap up this episode with all of that stuff that we have talked about, that the importance of building this side of the net so that we can, one, improve the relationship with ourselves. Like, let's start there. This is about not only relationships with others, but also the relationship with yourself. I've said this numerous times before, and I will continue to say it. We get one life on this earth. And I don't know about you, but I am hell-bent on making it the best possible life. Having the best relationship with myself, having the best relationships with other people, having amazing conversations, helping, being of service, being connected, living life to its fullest. And that takes understanding who I am and who you are. So who are you? Who are you? You might be 25 years old, or you might be 65 or 75 or 85 years old hearing this for the first time. And it's time to ask yourself that question. What is it that makes you who you are? And then these tools that I've given you will help you figure that out. Because the next couple of months, starting next week, going into March, we are going to be diving into the other and how we then take our side of the net and join it in relationship to another. And again, it's not always easy. In my experience, sometimes it makes it much, much better. And sometimes it ends the relationship. Sometimes painfully, but most of the time for good. Because the reality is, a healthy relationship takes two healthy people. So if only one of you is actually doing any work around this, there is a disconnect or a different level of what's called differentiation, meaning two people are not as evolved as each other. One person may not want to talk about things or look at themselves or have those kinds of conversations. But if you're listening to this podcast, my guess is you are in. You are in to making your life the best it can possibly be. You are in to wanting to have the best relationships and deserve to get the most love and deserve to love yourself and to learn to set boundaries and love yourself and build your side of the net. So thank you so much for listening. Please share this with people. I know you're listening to this thinking, oh, wow, my friend could really hear this, or my spouse needs to hear this, or I need to invite my spouse into these conversations. So you're going to have an opportunity starting next week. I have a new offer, and I'm not allowed to announce it yet. My team will kick my butt because we don't have anything put together yet, but I'm excited to announce I am launching in the next couple of months my first ever couples program since I was a couples therapist. And I'm just honored and delighted because I know how much these relationships are a huge part of our life and how much I see this all the time with my clients, that we can't be effective business owners. We can't be effective in our business, with our children, in our own lives when our significant relationships are falling apart and we haven't learned how to communicate. We haven't learned how to say, hey, I need you to love me for who I am. And for you control freaks out there, loving your partner for who they are. So thank you again. Please go over to iTunes if you loved this and give me a review. I love reading them. I love knowing that this is making an impact. So please feel free to rate this, review it, tell me what you think, and then share and let people know. Love you guys. Thanks so much for listening. And I will see you next week as we jump into codependency and the rest of that content. Bye. All right, everybody, I have a confession to make. I have a new obsession, and that obsession is reading your ridiculously wonderful, loving, amazing reviews on iTunes. I love them. None of this even matters without all of you. So as a thank you, each week I will be reading one review on air and calling out your review with your name or your iTunes handle. So here's how it's going to go. You're going to go to Instagram and follow me at Front Seat Life. When you hear your name called out on the podcast, you are going to send me a DM with your address and say, oh my gosh, you just read my review. And I or my team will be sending you some Front Seat Life swag. We've got books and we've got tank tops and we've got journals and we have these adorable pink swells. So we will be choosing from the goodie bag and sending it out as a thank you. So thank you in advance. And I am so deeply honored to have the opportunity to thank you back. This week's review comes from Jeza0711. That's Jeza0711. This person writes in the subject line, amazing, real, and insightful. Gosh, so nice. And he or she writes, Jessica is the real deal. She genuinely wants to be in service of others. Through her own life journey, she offers insightful, practical tips to live your best life. Thank you so much for these reviews. So don't forget, go over to my Instagram page, Front Seat Life, like me there, follow me there. Send me a DM with your address and a message, something like, oh my gosh, you just read my review on your podcast. And the Front Seat Life team will gladly and lovingly send you some Front Seat Life swag as a thank you. So keep up these reviews. I absolutely love reading them, and it is an honor to give back to you by reading them on air. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, truly, thank you so much for listening. I know that you have a ton of options, and the fact that you are taking time to listen to the Front Seat Life podcast means absolutely everything to me. If you're interested in learning more about the Front Seat Life way of life in the community, there's a couple ways that you can do that. First is always starting with your personality assessment tool. It's available on my website at jessicabutts.com. It's totally free, and it will help you figure out your personality type so you'll have some idea of what we're talking about. Next is, if you're interested in hiring me for a keynote or some coaching or or strategy days or the fabulous and amazing Front Seat Life community. You can find out all about all of that at jessicabutts.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.